Aye. Glad you can make it. Ron, you're first on the agenda, so. Well, I walked in just right. You did, come on in. Lighten us on what's going on.
I'm Ron Tyler, Environmental Services Director for Greenwood County. And I take care of the mosquito control for your in county. And what I'm coming here for is to provide you some information on what the county provides. Also, let me just tell you what we do in Uinta County. So for Bear River here, there's one surveillance trap that is in this town. There's 80 miles of ground ULB that they go and do. They bog and they do that. There's 2,000 acres that they spray for the town of Bear River. Okay. And BDCI, they do as good as they can. Mosquitoes are not foolproof, and they definitely are a problem. So the county's cost to spray Bear River is $34,800. And they do that without any questions. They've been doing it for, the county, they have asked for support, with the declining revenues and some of the stuff that we got going. We're just looking to try to keep the mosquito control program going. What I'm here for today is a request, and it's my negligence that I assumed that got on Mayor Kopit's desk to get on the budget. Sent a letter out January 2nd, and apparently it did not get to your desk. That's my negligence. I should have followed up to make sure that because you're on your third reading of the budget, and here I am, baby. See? But it was my negligence to not follow through to have that get on the budget. But what we're looking for today is $3,013.50 to help support the Uinta County mosquito control. And I might say that as we move forward with the declining revenues in the county, there's some stuff that's happened and declining. Probably what we're going to be asking in the county as the municipalities absorb more of that cost, because we will not be able to in the county. So moving forward, we'll probably be doing something to negotiate that and pay more of a percentage of that, because they've done this. I mean, this is the first year that we've asked people to pay. We did last year, and we got some response. Mountain View, Lyman, Evanston paid. Bear River didn't, because we didn't have it in there. And we're just looking to continue this program, because if we can't fund it, we're not going to spray. And it's something that's a real possibility. The contract ends with BDCI on the last day of this month. Not 100% sure that we're gonna move into a 5-year contract. With that 5-year contract being there, then we'll have to do something to help absorb the cost. And we can't do it. The county can't continue to do it. So, Evanston paid, and we're just seeing if we can get some help for this year. And then moving forward, we'll be having probably a lot of town meetings and stuff on the mosquito control, because it's a public health issue. And I mean, you guys have mosquitoes here. You've had mosquitoes. There's a lot of water in this town, and they do as good as they can. I anticipate that there'll be a plane in the air on the 23rd, is what we're targeting for this year. All depends on the weather. There's a lot to it and everything. I mean, it's not a perfect science, so. Anyway, that's what we're looking for today, just requesting that to help support this particular season, which is right now.
So let me get this straight. This was already in your budget, right? For this year. You're in on July 1, correct?
You what?
Your fiscal year ends on June 31st, right?
Yes.
So you're asking us to give you money for this current budget.
Yes.
This current budget?
Yes, for this current budget, not next year. So in January of next year, February, we're gonna be negotiating for the next year, which will be 2026. So that's what we're, like I said, I'm late to the game. Mountain View and Lyman's already paid, Evanston is working on that. I should hear from them what they are paying this year. Not sure, you know, and it's a struggle. Everybody's struggling for revenue.
So,
And I understand that.
So in your letter here, it says that we will be billed, but you're asking nicely, so which is, are we going to be billed or are you asking for the money?
no, so you need the money in this, but I'm trying to understand what Braden's at.
No, what I said is, he wants money for this, for right now, to get sprayed.
Yes, and the treasurer's office, have they not sent a bill yet? Probably not.
A bill for what?
You know, it's their responsibility to send the bills out, so there'll be a bill coming, whether you choose to pay it or not, I do not know.
So technically July is 2 weeks away, and that's the start of the new budget.
I know. So that's what I'm here for.
I talked to all three commissioners about this, and they started back in the boom when we had a lot of money, and started spraying. That money, they've got some budget deficits that they've got to figure out.
Oh,
okay. And, my only concern was we didn't budget for it. And I told them all, I said, if we do not pay that, are you not going to spray? And they said, probably not, but next year we'll be negotiating with you on.
that is correct. You know, we're planning, they're already fogging, they'll be fogging in your town again. You know, and the plane will be here on the 23rd. I don't know if it'll be here, but it's coming. So, but, you know, they're not gonna catch up now because we can't. We're not gonna do that. Union County is not gonna do that. Next year,
Well, and what I told those guys is I says, I'm not trying to be argumentative or, it's just our budget's done.
oh, I understand that.
So if we have some time, we can look at that
Yep.
and put that in, is what I recommend we do.
Well, this payment would come out of this current budget.
I know.
And so it doesn't really,
And it was my fault that I did not just follow up on getting it in the budget. You know, that was my fault because I should have followed up and assumed that it was there.
You know, I find it very ironic, the town of Bear River was developed because the county would not help us with anything, and now they're coming back wanting us to scratch their back.
Well, I can tell you that, the mosquito control it's not a state statute. We do not have to spray mosquitoes. You know, and it's one of those things that we understand that it needs to happen. I understand. It's a bad deal if it doesn't happen.
It is, absolutely.
You know, it's a public health crisis, and the worst part about the whole thing for me is if we have one West Nile positive out of that racetrack, which is the epicenter of this valley,
It happens all the time.
that's gonna cause a problem.
That track with West Nile and some other area. So it's already happening.
I know, so we have to make sure that we do our due diligence, so. That's what I'm asking for, and sorry I'm late to the game, but here I am.
What are you gonna say, BJ?
Well, one thing I had is, we talked about the cost of Bear River is 34,000,
Yes.
and you're requesting 3,113. How did you come with that figure?
Okay, BDCI law has put together a breakdown of what it costs for the county on what they do. Okay? So they come up with that number, and it's an administrative cost and what they do, and that's next year. That is what they're gonna bill the county. You know, it's gonna bump up to that 34,800. We're absorbing that this year. So it's gonna be substantial next year.
So that 34,000 for us is time, equipment, and product being used, and the plane and the fuel.
Correct. Burial is a very expensive. Yep. So, sorry I'm late to the game, but here we are. So,
What were your thoughts?
I have one question to clarify so I understand. How many acres did you say?
Okay, so the breakdown for, we have, they have 80 miles of ULV, so when they fog, they log 80 miles in this town.
Okay,
Okay, and they spray 2,000 acres. How many acres is in your town?
about 1,300.
Well, I got-
Yeah, I don't have a clue.
What the one
I
farm?
know that. Acreage wise, I don't.
No, but, I know we only have 9 miles of road.
Yeah, that's my question, is how we get the 80 miles when there's 10 miles.
They go more than once, that's all I know. I know that they go more than once. I think they're on their second time here, and they bill us for the amount that they're going. We get printouts every week.
That's total for the whole season. is what-
Total for the whole season, correct. That's not per
Per trip.
So we're expecting at least 80 or 88 logging trips in this area then, at 80 miles roughly.
Yeah,
Well, and it's kind of, it's a unique situation in the fact the farmer comes through and the wind blows and what do we kill him? And that's nobody's fault.
I know.
I mean, I'm not trying to put that on anybody, but, and I don't know the science, so I mean, I'm one to pick at you, I'm not that guy. So, as I asked you guys, what do we think? I mean, you heard where I thought, is we don't have it in the budget next year, we're gonna come back, we're gonna talk about it again, it looks like it's gonna be higher, that gives us time to budget in and see what we're getting, or do you wanna do something different for this? You know, give me your opinions.
If we could find the funds, if it's in the budget, I mean, if we don't have the 3,100, the $3,000, it is what it is.
oh, it's understandable. Like I said, I'm late to the game. You know, it's my fault, but I should have been done my due diligence before I talked to you. You know, when I talked to you, I was taken away that we didn't have.
Yeah. So far, how does that work?
Okay, so,
I'm not asking what the budget is, we'll talk
no,
about that.
no,
What I'm asking is if
we're
we.
talking about today, or how many today, and if you look at the back page of what we have current, but we do not have the money this year for
That's all. I
I'm
need to
sorry.
do. I'm sorry.
Okay.
it. I'm truly.
Next year, we'll.
We we bought a water truck.
I understand, and like I said, I'm late to the game, but I haven't come in. And I wanted to provide information for you so you understand what's coming.
And that's good, because I always wonder, when they gonna fly?
Because you need to know that, yeah, it's gonna get a lot more expensive. You know, so, and then if the county chooses to not spray, then what? You know, or what your town does, you know, so.
I hate mosquitoes.
I think
Oh.
I'll probably get those phone calls.
They're terrible.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. Hey, well, I brought this to you for consideration.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we will, we're not trying to
And I,
be mean spirited or anything like that.
I don't know what happened, I'm honestly with, we got the letter, he would have had it on his desk.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it is.
everything, you know, it belongs around here a lot.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very much.
thanks for coming first. I can
You
go
betcha,
back.
yeah.
Right, thanks, Ron.
Thanks, okay.
Okay, our council person from the valley didn't show up. She was gonna come and discuss the resolution for the approving the proposition 4% specific tax. I'll get into her in a minute. Number 3 is a surplus sale on the 1964 Peterbilt water truck is now open for bid. Bids will be opened and awarded July 8th council meeting.
Right.
We're in a meeting today with the track, they would like that, and we already talked through all that, they want it back.
Okay, they need certificate,
Right.
a close, if you read, did I give everybody a copy of what we put in the newspaper? Cause I had, the surplus sale, okay. Well, anyway, it's,
Okay, that's where it's at,
Okay.
just so everybody knows, if you want a water truck, put in a bid.
Great for watering your
it was
grass.
gonna be advertised tomorrow, okay, tomorrow's paper and next week's paper.
Okay.
Okay, and I will call and talk, I'll call and talk to Mr. Randall, let him know what we're doing,
Okay.
and he's welcome to.
Okay,
And once we open up the bid, he'll,
Yes, I guess we paid for it, though. We paid for it.
We did, we paid for that water truck. I think it was $500.
And it's either here or there, just in our discussion, I'll get it.
Okay. I will talk to him about it,
Okay.
let him know what the process is, and he's welcome to bring it in.
The next thing is a petition to lower the speed limit is out here, so if you haven't signed it and you want to sign it, we appreciate it. And spread the word to everybody you know, because it is here. How long are we going to keep that?
I doubt get these things.
Until we get quite a few signatures, and then I'll just probably pack it up and go see our friend.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, don't hesitate, I mean, you don't have to live in Bear River to sign it. I've had other people walk in and they sign it. So it's not just Bear River, it's a concern for.
Well, Frank expressed his,
Concern.
concerns and support for it, didn't he?
Did you sign it?
Well, I don't know, I don't think so, because we got to talking and they got.
Okay.
So we'll get it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, resolution 2025-15, joint resolution approving propositions for the 1% specific purpose excise tax in Uinta County, state of Wyoming, said proposition to be placed on the special election ballot on November 4th, 2025. Is there any discussion on that?
Well, I think we already passed the resolution.
We passed our resolution, and now this is the joint one where we all went together. to
So
sign
basically
one.
what our resolution says, we can sign that.
Sure, yes, it did. And we weren't sure how they were gonna do that, joint one or single.
Except we have to pass this one because it has to be the same language for each of the municipalities that go, and that way they know what's going on the ballot and there's not confusion.
And
We passed a resolution saying we supported moving forward with that, with those things.
so we were prepared either way, so.
And that's back to the council person from Mountain View. The Valley is against it. And specifically Mayor Ayers of Mountain View calls me every day. Where you guys at? Because it rests on our shoulders, because the Valley didn't want it. And it rests on Bear River shoulders. And Shane, Mayor Newton, called me and said, sorry to put it on your shoulders. But that's just how it is. And I said, well, we've already passed that resolution. I said, I think we're going forward. The issue was the payment for the special election was going to be divvied up between the municipalities, and our share would have been.
1900.
Is that, yeah, I mean, it's no lot, but still,
Well,
it's still, right, we don't have a budget, right? I can't, yeah. So that was part of the discussion, that's where the Valley backed out. They got a lot of heat for what they were gonna do. Felt like it's getting moved too fast, but if you guys feel comfortable with it, we'll move on. And because I don't think it's a bad thing to let the voters of Uinta County make that decision.
We did pass
That's what I said
that,
at the beginning.
and we did pass that resolution too.
Okay,
So
so,
can I ask you a question real quick?
yeah,
So we're gonna have to pay $1,900 to ask our constituents that question?
No, we
Who's
did
gonna
not.
pick up that bill in this file?
the
Rec Center.
Rec Center, the city of Madison Rec Center.
Okay, gotcha.
Comes out of their budget.
Appreciate it, thank you.
That's what was hold up, because when we passed our resolution, I was under the assumption, and I made a mistake and should have asked the question, who's paying for this? We never get anything for nothing. I did not ask that question.
It wasn't a quite like when you're talking about it, I was like, oh, special election, sure, we'll hold a special, like, I didn't even think.
66,
there were dollars.
75 grand for
Nobody did.
Right, right.
All of a sudden, we're here, remember, so we started about it.
Yes, sir.
Good note also that the board actually had sent emails.
I did.
They had sent emails saying they would pay. This is what I was told by Ben Peterson, the attorney for Minor. He said they received one, and that's why it caught him off guard. So, yeah, everything was,
And it worked out good for us, because we just finished our master plan, and we have that project that's already put together, it has a price to it, with secondary access. And the other towns were feeling like they've been pressured into hurry up and make a decision and not get a consensus on what it is. So that was the only thing in the discussion. With the $76,000 or $75,000, we want to burden the Uinta County people with that tax, or we want to put it on the ballot for next year. There will be an additional cost, but not quite as much. So that's where all that discussion came.
Mhm. But now they're paying for it, so that's all that matters to us.
Any other discussion? Okay, we are in search of a town representative to sit on the Economic Development Board. So if anybody knows anybody, that would sure be helpful. We appreciate your willingness to go. Yeah, you're interested, if we do, and I mean that with all seriousness, to go and to do that. And we'll get a report from her, she went to the last meeting, and it just doesn't align with family life, with everything going on, so that's okay. And in the same breath,
This guy.
yeah, we've got the guy next to her, Jim Johnson, has accepted to sit on the BRRJPB board as a town representative. I don't know what all those mean.
Or he signs the check.
Yeah, I signed the check, I don't write it. So he's graciously accepted that, and we do appreciate that. So today, we'll take care of that.
Thank you.
As well. So thank you. Number 8, Mr. Stout.
We had that, Freedom of Information Act, Public Records request that was given. Barb worked hard holding, it wasn't anything, I worked with Barb, so we have the format right on sending out the bill. I will be sending off to them, you notice that we haven't had anything, and also kind of give an itemized of where we check, so we should be able to.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. That's
Thank
just
you.
kind of out of the blue,
That's a big no.
so thank you.
Yes.
Any other discussion on that? That's pretty simple. Number 9, the fiscal year 2025-2026 proposed budget, general fund revenues, $708,587. Expenses, $708,587. The enterprise fund, irrigation revenue, $5,500. Expenses, $5,500. Sewer revenues, $23,430. Sewer expenses, $23,430. Is there any discussion before we have our third reading on the budget? I like that, you guys are easy tonight. Number 10, we're going to table the third reading of the ordinance 2025-01, planning and zoning ordinance until July 8th council meeting. And I guess you know about that.
Yeah, Dave and I talked about that, and there's a couple things that came up, and we just thought, we wanted to relook at a couple things before we approve it. Just make sure some language and some of the concerns that popped up recently are.
Don't try to do it.
Exactly. It's not a big rush, it's not like it's the end of the
Well,
world.
we had to specify the date, and if we're ready next month, it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
We'll take it off the table next month for sure.
If you're not ready.
Take it again, we can put it back on.
yeah.
I got a question for you. I mean, we got a question up on it. Can we talk about it now, or do we need to wait till another time? It's more of a question, so I can see where some of the language is written and where it's supposed to be kind of going. I mean, I can wait until Dave gets back and we have a discussion then.
And that's why he wanted to table it, because he wanted to be here.
Okay, and I'll just save that until next meeting.
I appreciate it. Okay. The Wildstar investment account, how much do you guys feel like we need to move? We're taking money out of First Bank, which we have in our general fund.
Well, we're taking that out of general fund, and
Yeah.
our general fund access thing.
We have 1.6 8 in our general fund. We're earning 1% on that money, correct, Barb?
Yep.
With Wildstar, as we looked at that before, he's around 4.75 to 5.25. The money is still liquid and 100% guaranteed. And that's what they do.
That's a no-brainer. 1% to 4%,
Right.
It's a no-brainer.
So with that being said, the amount of money with 1.6 in there, my thoughts are is $500,000. If we move out of there, keep our balance in the bank at 1.1, almost 1.2, and move 500 out of there and in our next meeting.
So if you
Decide now, then we'll get the okay and we'll move forward.
we'll do it in our new budget year,
Okay.
but we have to have it in our agenda, in our meeting minutes, that we're doing that with you.
Okay. Now,
And the amount, so you guys decide.
I come up with 500,000, keep silver mill in our general account. what I would like from you is your thoughts and discussion on that. Because when we had him come in and explain that to us, you know, he came in and everybody's involved in it. That's not what we need to, but like you said, 4% interest, especially when income is hard to come by in municipalities right now, I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. So what are your thoughts on that with the amount and
What'd you say, move it all?
I'd say move it all. But this still being that, you know, being able to have access to it whenever we need it. What's the difference between this account and that account, other than 3%?
Well,
Part of that is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because what, we kind of always wonder about is trying to have some things separated. I agree with you totally. If it was me, that's what I would do. But we gotta look out just for the town as a whole also.
Didn't we already move some?
Not yet.
we moved some from,
We moved our money market to state bank, but I think moving the 500 right now, we would treasure to be able to. See how it goes, how active it is, see how much we are, the revenue of that 500. And then we think this is, now we should move another 500.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's how I see it. I don't think we should just move it all, I think we should look at what it actually does for us before we get overzealous here. And then if we allow what to go on, put some more in there.
Yeah, this is like something happens, we have somewhere else.
and I don't disagree with that, we know you do.
Same thing, it's testing the waters. We haven't done it, we don't know what's going to happen with it. Let's just find out. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. Because if all of a sudden, heavens forbid, something happens with them, all of a sudden, we have no funds whatsoever.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, all these funds, regardless of where they're gonna be at, they're all protected somehow.
The funds in First Bank, and correct me if I'm wrong, are only insured up to a certain amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But they also have a data protection, something large, I can't remember, but all our money is protected. The bank itself is, I think, $250,000, but then we have another, we send us a resolution every year stating that, and a report stating our money is protected.
Because they're public funds.
And we're bound to what we have in there.
Oregon. What do you think?
Like you said, send it all.
Send it all.
Of course not. Do you have some gag?
Well, what is the history of this investment place? What-
Outstanding, that's what they do as municipalities.
Okay, that's all they work on? But I'm in agreement. I wouldn't do it all initially. I would do the small portion, see how it goes, and then next year you could apply more to that, but
As long as interest rate stays the same, because it's variable, it could drop and move us out.
But yeah, I think we should test the waters before we.
yeah, even in my investment account, I get 4% minimum, I get as high as 5, so mine kind of bounces around here too. And that's if I'm only just sitting there, if I'm not doing anything with it.
Right, that's basically what we'll probably.
Correct.
do.
Just a little history, when I first became mayor 12 years ago, I think we only had 600 in the bank when I took over, and this is where we're at 12 years, so. Good there.
Yeah.
That's not counting everything else.
Well, and we're pretty lucky, our budget is pretty good, the county's got some serious issues. But when we can, I'm like you you look at the interest rates, and if we gain the same security throughout, it makes sense to me, when I brought it up in January, to move it. And I agree with Barb to wait until the fiscal year to move that, but we lost that much interest at this point.
Yeah, we should pay for our mosquito thing.
Right? There you go. There you go.
Buy our own equipment, do our own mosquito thing.
But with that income,
So it would
as
have
hard
to
as
be
it is to get income now, if we can generate some interest income, like you've done with that money to this point, that sure helps. So we'll go ahead and move forward with 500,000 unless. Let's do that. Yeah, that's perfect. Wyoming Downs annexation. Do you guys want to talk about the annexation for a minute, then we'll get into our discussion today?
Yep.
Yep. So I wrote a letter, BJ and I talked about it, last meeting, about coming up with a letter to say, basically just, hey, are you guys interested in even becoming a part of the town? So I worked on a letter.
I gave it to Troy,
Okay.
Got
Just basically, yeah, I can just read.
We didn't want to violate any private meeting
Yeah.
acts or things like that, so we just kind of,
So with the whole debacle of Evanston, I just wrote the letter, nobody really knows what it says. So I sent it out so we can all look at it. Basically, it was just, hey, are you guys interested in annexed in, you've been neighbors for a while? What are your thoughts on it? And that's really all it says.
And it was pretty generic like that. It was just right
Is
down.
it on your desk? I can go look, because I gave it to you.
So wrote it up to see what everybody thought about it, see what everybody's opinions on it are. I'm more than happy to edit it, since we're not discussing it, so that's kind of where we're at with it, is just seeing if they're even interested.
yeah, there's a couple ways you go about it, because one is you can contact them, if I remember right, if I've read this correctly, is we can contact the Downs directly to say, hey, are you interested in becoming part of the town? Or, we'd love to have you, come on in. The next step would be to do a community force annexation, kind of as it were, where we put it out for public opinion, a public hearing, where we get opinions from the entire town as to whether or not people want the Downs annexed into the town of Bear River. If we have a high amount of unanimous agreement to annex them in, as a town, we can annex them in. But a more friendly measure is to talk to them and find out what they really want.
So here's the letter. Dear Wyoming Downs, we hope this finds you well. The town of Bear River is reaching out to explore the possibility of annexing your tract into our municipal boundaries. As a long-standing neighbor, we value the close relationship that has developed over the years, particularly the contribution of our residents who support your operation through breeding and boarding of racehorses. Your facility currently borders our town to the east, and we are considering expanding to the north. We believe that incorporating Wyoming Downs into our community would be mutually beneficial. We view your presence as a valuable asset and would welcome to the opportunity to discuss potential of annexation further. We look forward to possibly working together and fostering an even stronger partnership. Sincerely, Town Bear River.
And go ahead.
What are the pros of this annexation?
We're still working through that. I shouldn't speak for you.
No, you're good. Some of it's property tax revenue. Obviously, that's changing. However, revenue is still revenue. Even if it's a little bit, there's still some revenue that does come from it. And so that is one thing. The other part is grabbing another business that's part of our town. Goes back to slowing down speed limits and things like that.
Yeah.
We can now say we have another incorporated business as part of this community. And so it gives us some more power, again, with the state to say, hey, take a look at this again, because there's more reasons to be doing this.
And what about the cons? I mean, I'm sure they're gonna want something out of this, right?
I'm sure the
And that's still a
What
discussion.
about the maintenance of the road? Is that what they're
It would be just like my house or Mike Croft's business. We don't plow his roads, we don't mow his yard, we have to do that on our own in each of our own lots, right? So what that would entail is running water because they're on a well. And then our sewer is another big issue I'm gonna talk about here in just a second. But it would be adapting them into the sewer with their RV parks and the additional 200 acres north of there.
And one of the cons is that we've talked about changing sewer rates. That brings more revenue to the town. If they're part of the community, that also changes what we can charge as far as rates go, because they're part of the town now. And so there's some differences there as far as cons go as well.
As far as what they want, like, we had a brief meeting with them today, just threw out the idea. So there's been no talks about
Okay.
really anything other than
Let's talk.
let's talk.
Okay.
The the next part on there ties into the Wyoming Downs, it's 200 acres. The 200 acres north of there, I met with, Eric Jackson twice. Eric Nelson, who used to own the track, kept the 200 acres north of the racetrack. They're looking to develop that. I had Nick join me today. We had their architects, lawyer maybe. I don't know who this guy, he was strong arm, but he was an old guy, but that's strong, so. Now we got Eric and Eric. And, as we talked through it, they've got a plan set forth with some pretty lofty goals. And it was just our first initial conversation with them. 80 lots over there is what they're looking at doing. And those lots are going to be, well, let me back up, talk about the racetrack for a minute. They received 1,580 applications for horse stalls this year.
Yes.
They only have 920. I get calls every day to lease out my barn stalls to racetrack people. And it's gonna come. We're having a lot more racehorses move into the town. That's another subject we'll talk about next week, or next month. But as we talk about that, they want to build these as a high-end, and I'm talking high-end RV park, which means they're gonna have a barn on there for the owners who fly in on their jets, get in a motorhome, come up here to the park, and plug into the sewer and the water. And then they want to lead their horse to the racetrack. They'll be integrated into the racetrack to be able to lead their horse in there. They would like us to, correct me if I'm wrong here, Nick, look at the options as far as getting water there. And right now it's way up here. I just said, I don't think we're going to do that. I think there's some grants available that might be able to help us. But you're going to bear all those costs. They have to bring everything up to a certain spec, just like any other developer, before we step in and say we want to be a part of this. So that was a discussion we had that ties into the track, and in that discussion today we talked about annexation, because their big thing to us is just think all that revenue you're going to make off of that. We're not going to make that much revenue off of that RV park. It's just not there. It's not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars like everybody thinks it is. So that's in the works. When we talk about annexing the track, don't know yet, don't know the cons. There's a lot of working parts. And does our sewer, I think Scotty can answer this, our sewer is probably capable of handling, that. But it's like BJ said, in doing so, we have the opportunity to charge more, right? And that brings more revenue into it. So right now, we're just in the first talks of that. Did I miss anything through that?
I only got something to add.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, talking with them, whether we want part of that or not, they are pretty set forward to do it. So.
I would rather be a part of it so we have a say in what that looks like. And that falls planning and zoning,
Yes, it does.
so we can have an idea what that looks like as we go.
And the way it sounds, it's kind of be, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of more like, if you buy that property, it's gonna be more like an HOA where they've got, was it a CCR?
Yeah.
So, like, as long as our ordinances are met, and the way they're making it sound, they're even gonna have a higher standing on top of that they're gonna hold it.
The pictures that they showed us, this is what we want it to look like. This is my other RV park in California. He said, minus the pine trees up here, or the palm trees up here. But it's got a swimming pool, it's got a small house with a covered deck, concrete, nice brick fire pits, beautiful barn. Something you don't see here for a reason, right? Because when winter comes, we'll take the beauty right out of that picture. So I don't know what that means or what it looks like, but we're working through that process to figure that out. And I'm sure the next meeting, Dean, you're gonna be involved in that. We're not gonna have Dave figure out what we're gonna do, what it looks like.
As far as the water goes, I think you need to start getting involved with that, either having Becky at your meetings, or get Jim, since he's.
There we go.
Because that's who, that's who is in charge of the water.
Was my chopped liver?
Huh?
Was my chopped liver?
He's on the water board.
I know, but I just thought somebody that's retired, but yeah, no, you're not. Sorry.
Vice chair.
Yeah, see, okay, I should have mentioned these, Eric, is.
You're right, we do need to get the water.
Yeah, because that's who runs the water, the system, and then it will be a joint thing, the town and joint power. But,
The good part about it too is we have an opportunity to make it look like what we want to make it look like, right? And to structure that the way we want to. And just talking with Nick, whether that's a committee that takes that and runs with it, with our, with everybody involved and brings us reports on that, or whatever that looks like, I don't know. Because we do need to get the community involved in that, it's just more than a decision for, the wrong one I'm finding in this chair to get shot at. So,
Well, I'm not really sure how the annexing works, so don't quote, but would, you and the county fight us pretty hard on trying to annex the annex, isn't that a big revenue for them?
They've asked us to take it a couple times, actually.
Right, so, correct me if I'm wrong, but I looked into this a while ago, and the money that's made off of the gambling goes to the state, it does not go to the county.
So,
It's state regulated, am I right?
So with the, off the track betting, and the historical horse racing, there's a portion that comes down to the county, and then that portion is divvied up between the county and whatever city that facility is held into. So like, all the stuff we see at the old lotties, so on and so forth, that all goes to Evanston, we don't see it dying. Troy's right, all the betting that happens at the track premises goes straight to the state.
So with that, I saw some numbers. The county gets a check for $443,000, the city gets a check for $443,000. The question I got asked to me, and I can't answer, is that since inception of the racetrack, or is that once a year? That's a difference. That's a difference.
Mr. Griffith, I
Yes.
saw that same report, that was last year.
Was it last year?
Last
Or the
year, yeah, it was just the year, 'cause I saw that same report.
Yeah, the gaming machines bring in a lot of money, a lot of money. And the only thing that would really affect us out here is getting incomes if they were to put the gaming machines out here.
Which I think that's.
Which, in my opinion, it's gonna come.
I don't know, because when we
I don't
were
know
at
what that-
we talked with Nick, and they tried that once before at the track. But the betting machines were a bust because you go play on the machine or you go watch that.
that's where they're building the one up on the west side of town. That's
The
all
horse
they
palace.
need.
He sat there and said, we want to take all the windows, we want to cover the mile.
And their big kicker is they're trying to hit all the corners of the state. This happens to be one of the corners of the state. And so, well, yes, they've got their racetrack there. The racetrack doesn't run all year. And so they could put some other things in there that do run during the off season, because there's a lot of talk of other things that happen besides just the regular horse racing.
We'll start starting to go, we're
Yeah.
talking about bringing the cover racing.
Yeah.
Cover racing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 different types of racing they're talking about bringing in, and so they're looking to expand their season, and they're looking to change how they operate now. Because even the race season this year, instead of doing just Saturday, Sundays, they're now doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so they're going for a shorter period, but they're going for longer amounts of days to be able to do it.
Is that all through the season or just the month?
No, it starts July 3rd, or 4th. The Friday. It's
So that's half the season.
4 Fridays or something.
And Frank Lamb was all for slowing the speed limit down, because he calls the sheriff, as we've discussed, to come out and help when the track, lets out, people get out there. So there's another, it is. So there's a lot to report back as we keep going, and, we're gonna have to get a lot of people involved and make sure we do it right. So, any other questions on that, concerns, ideas?
The other pro that I thought about that just a second ago is it does give a third exit for El Caballo. With that new community, there'll be another road that comes out further out past the downs. And so, yeah, there is another benefit there.
What did he say about that access? Because I brought up the access, the only access now is through the downs. And did he say that's the one we plan on using right now?
I think so.
They've got that first road that kicks over, I think, because you enter downs and you hang out
That's to go horse barn.
and that's where they want to connect it into, yeah.
So that'll congest that intersection as well. Okay? What do you think? Is it all good?
Yeah.
All right, as long as you're on my side. The head gate is open. For how long? We don't know, do we, Scott?
No.
You want to tell us about
The
that?
water's there, so use it. When the water master says it's done, it's done.
And I imagine that's gonna come sooner than later this year. Right. Do you want to talk about the road maintenance too, get us started, Scott?
So starting on Monday, or actually Tuesday, we're gonna start grading the roads and getting that water. So we'll be out doing that all next week.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns before we close this meeting up? Okay, it's adjourned. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming.
You have the head date, when I work here, I'm gonna ask,